Judge Eileen Cannon, a President Trump appointee, telling the Justice Department it cannot release a final report compiled by former special counsel Jack Smith in a case against the president. This report, describing President Trump's efforts to store classified documents at Mar-a-Lago after his first term, is now under permanent seal. President Trump was indicted in 2023 on 37 felony counts, alleging he mishandled classified documents and obstructed government efforts to reclaim them.
If I have any regret, it would be not expressing enough appreciation for my staff.
Special counsel Jack Smith brought the indictment. However, this case was later thrown out by Cannon, saying Smith's appointment was unconstitutional. Because of what the court calls Smith's defective appointment, Cannon views any report compiled by Smith to be unlawful. Cannon dismissed this case in 2024, but Smith still compiled the report.
Adam here, just you and me today. Judge Cannon's unsealing order has made 833,000 plus pages of discovery photos, audio, transcripts, and obstruction notes public, exposing everything Trump fought to keep hidden. The president is reportedly furious, as the full evidence is now out for the world to see. This is the moment that Trump's entire legal and political strategy has been dreading since the very beginning of these investigations. Judge Cannon, who has faced endless accusations of moving too slowly and being too favorable to Trump because he appointed her, has now issued an order that fundamentally changes everything. The case has been delayed indefinitely, with trial dates coming and going without resolution, with pre-trial legal matters piling up without decisions, with lawyers haggling endlessly over what evidence should be made public. But now that fight is over. The evidence is out. And Trump's reaction has been exactly what you'd expect from someone whose carefully constructed defenses have just been demolished in public.
The judge overseeing former President Donald Trump's classified documents case held a sealed hearing today on Trump's efforts to have the entire case dismissed. Overnight, prosecutors filed these never-before-seen pictures of classified documents found during the FBI's 2022 Mar-a-Lago search. It was in response to the former president's claims that investigators mishandled the materials found in boxes. Katrina, catch us up to speed on these late overnight filings.
Hi, Lindsay. So last night, Jack Smith submitted a filing in which he responded to a claim by Trump that this is yet another effort to dismiss this indictment, first of all, and it's because Trump says that his due process rights have been violated by the government because they've tampered with the contents of these boxes that were found during the Mar-a-Lago search and in which the classified documents were found. He also says that the special counsel's office had a meeting where the order of the contents were discussed and he didn't receive the note. So he says all of this is a reason that they should just dismiss this case completely because this evidence has been spoiled.
He went on Truth Social and started ranting about a total hoax, claiming the evidence is fake, insisting the courts are rigged, screaming about witch hunts and persecution. He's denying everything, attacking everyone, doing what he always does when cornered. But here's the thing that makes this moment different from every other controversy Trump has faced. It doesn't matter what Trump says anymore. It doesn't matter how loudly he denies it, or how many posts he fires off, or how many conspiracy theories he invents, because the evidence is public. The evidence is already out there. The evidence is already being analyzed by journalists across the political spectrum. The evidence is already being discussed everywhere, from cable news studios to family dinner tables. Trump can deny it all he wants, but the facts are right there in the public record for anyone to see. The photographs that went public are absolutely devastating. They show classified material stored in bathrooms at Mar-a-Lago. Bathrooms. Think about that for a moment.
The case involves Trump's handling of classified documents after he left office. For months, Mr. Trump refused to return the documents despite multiple requests. That led to a raid of his Mar-a-Lago estate back in August. Now you're looking at these newly released photos. They allege Trump stored boxes with classified documents all over the place in Mar-a-Lago, frankly. The ballroom, his bedroom, even a bathroom and a shower.
I also wanted to call attention just to how he describes a lot of those documents. Jack Smith is in a tough space because he can't be too specific about this information because, of course, the heart of this matter is on those classified documents and how the former president may have posed a national security risk by disclosing that information. But he wants the American public and, of course, eventually a jury to be able to see exactly what it was disclosed and in the possession of the former president. He talks about a 2019 December document that concerned a foreign country supporting terrorist acts.
Classified nuclear secrets stored in bathrooms. Classified military intelligence stored in bathrooms. Classified foreign intelligence stored in bathrooms. These are documents that contain some of the nation's most sensitive information. Information that could compromise national security if it fell into the wrong hands. And Trump was storing them in bathrooms where anyone could have accessed them. The photographs also show classified material in ballrooms, social spaces where Trump hosted events and had guests visiting, ballrooms where people gathered, where staff worked, where visitors came and went. And Trump was storing classified documents there, out in the open, completely unprotected. The photographs show classified material in bedrooms too, personal spaces where Trump slept, where he changed clothes, where he conducted private conversations. And now these photographs are on every news network, being analyzed by journalists, being examined by legal experts, being seen by millions of Americans who are finally understanding the scope and seriousness of what Trump did.
The Justice Department has unsealed the federal indictment against former President Donald Trump. The document outlines the government's case and the criminal counts Trump now faces. That development comes as sources tell ABC News a Trump aide is also facing a federal indictment. ABC's Justin Finch has the story.
The Justice Department unsealing its 49-page indictment, accusing former President Donald Trump of 37 felony counts in the Mar-a-Lago classified records probe. His aide, Walt Nauta, also charged in the case, accused of allegedly helping to hide documents. Special counsel Jack Smith inviting Americans to read the indictment, which prosecutors say shows Trump was personally involved in the willful retention of government records after leaving office, and then obstructed authorities' efforts to retrieve them.
The Bedminster audio transcript is also now public, and it's arguably the most damaging piece of evidence in the entire case. This is Trump's own words, captured on audio in July 2021 at his golf club. The transcript shows Trump waving around a classified Iran attack plan, showing it to people who didn't have security clearances, people who had no business seeing classified material. The transcript shows Trump admitting on tape that the document is secret. The transcript shows Trump explaining that as president, he could have declassified it, but now he can't. Trump's own voice, his own words, his own confession that he knew the document was classified and he retained it anyway. That transcript is now permanently part of the public record. Trump's own voice is now available for everyone to hear. Trump's own admission is now public, and there's absolutely nothing Trump can do about it. The evidence is out there. The proof is public. Trump is completely exposed in a way he has never been exposed before. The court filings also detail all 40 felony counts, including 31 Espionage Act violations. The filings explain exactly what documents Trump retained, exactly how he retained them, exactly how long he kept them, and exactly what he did to try to cover it up. The filings are a comprehensive roadmap to Trump's guilt, laying out every piece of evidence, every witness statement, every document that prosecutors have gathered over the course of their investigation. And the filings are now public. Anyone can read them. Anyone can understand them. Anyone can see exactly how much evidence prosecutors have and exactly how strong their case is. Evan Corcoran's detailed notes are also now public, and they're absolutely devastating to Trump's defense. Corcoran, Trump's own lawyer, documented everything. Trump's instructions to hide documents, Trump's lies about what he had, Trump's attempts to conceal evidence, Trump's deliberate obstruction of the investigation. Those notes are now available to the media, available to the jury, available to anyone who wants to understand exactly what Trump did. And Corcoran's notes are particularly damaging because they come from Trump's own lawyer, someone who was actually in the room, someone who heard what Trump said directly, someone who documented Trump's instructions in real time. The crime-fraud exception details are also public now, explaining exactly why Trump's privilege claims failed. The courts found that Trump was using his lawyer for obstruction, that Trump was directing Corcoran to hide evidence, that Trump was lying to his own attorney. And because of that, the courts determined that attorney-client privilege didn't apply. The communications weren't protected because they were made in furtherance of a crime. The legal reasoning is all laid out in the filings, explaining exactly why prosecutors got access to everything, explaining exactly why Trump's entire legal strategy collapsed, explaining exactly why Trump's privilege claims were baseless. And those details are now available for anyone to read and understand. The significance of all this evidence being public cannot be overstated. Trump fought for months to keep this evidence secret. He filed motion after motion to suppress it. He claimed privilege. He claimed executive authority. He claimed everything he could possibly think of to keep this information hidden from public view. But the courts forced disclosure, and now the evidence is public. Now the evidence is available to the media, available to voters, available to the jury, and the more people see this evidence, the more people understand that Trump is guilty. GOP allies are scattering after seeing all this evidence. Republican leaders are looking at photographs of classified material in bathrooms and realizing how insane this is. Republican leaders are listening to audio of Trump confessing and understanding that Trump is guilty. Republican leaders are reading the court filings and realizing that Trump is probably going to be convicted. Republican leaders are looking at all this evidence and understanding that being associated with Trump is politically toxic. Republican leaders are deciding to distance themselves even further from Trump to create as much separation as possible between themselves and the person who is now the most politically damaged figure in the country. The evidence that went public is driving the final nails into Trump's political coffin. Trump's Truth Social rants about a total hoax are not convincing anyone. Trump's denials don't matter when the evidence is public. Trump's claims of innocence don't matter when Trump is on audio confessing. Trump's attacks on the courts don't matter when the courts have explained their reasoning in detail. Now, let's break down exactly what the unsealed court filings contain and why each piece of evidence is so devastating to Trump's defense. The photographs are the most visceral piece of evidence, the images that make the abstract concept of mishandling classified documents concrete and real. Photographs showing classified material in bathrooms, in ballrooms, in bedrooms. Think about the absolute carelessness of storing classified nuclear secrets in a bathroom where anyone could see them. Think about how blatantly Trump was violating federal law. Think about how obvious it is that Trump was not securing classified material properly. And now those photographs are public. Everyone can see them. Everyone can understand that Trump was dangerously negligent with the nation's most sensitive secrets. The photographs of ballroom storage are also extremely damaging. Ballrooms are social spaces where people gather, where Trump probably had guests visiting, where staff were working. And Trump was storing classified material in ballrooms. That's reckless. That's a complete violation of security protocols. That's intentional mishandling of classified information. And photographs prove it. The bedroom storage is also relevant because it shows that Trump was storing classified material in personal spaces. Bedrooms are the most personal spaces in a residence. They should never contain classified material. And Trump was storing classified nuclear secrets in bedrooms. The Bedminster audio transcript is the smoking gun. This is Trump's own confession captured in audio and now transcribed for public consumption. July 2021, Trump at Bedminster with writers. Trump picks up a classified document. Trump waves it around. Trump shows it to people without clearances. And Trump says on tape that the document is still secret. Trump says that as president, he could have declassified it, but now he can't. Trump is literally explaining on tape that he knew the document was classified and he deliberately retained it anyway. The transcript is now public. Everyone can read Trump's exact words. Everyone can understand Trump's guilt. The transcript also shows Trump's knowledge and understanding of declassification. Trump is explaining how declassification works. Trump is explaining that as president, he had the power to declassify. Trump is explaining that now that he's not president, he can't declassify. Trump is demonstrating clear knowledge of the legal situation. Trump is demonstrating that he understood exactly what he was doing. Trump is demonstrating consciousness of guilt. The transcript makes it impossible for Trump to claim ignorance. The transcript makes it impossible for Trump to claim he didn't understand the classification status of the documents. The transcript is Trump's own words, proving Trump's guilt. The Espionage Act violation details in the court filings are also devastating. 31 Espionage Act violations. That's a huge number. That's Trump retaining classified material in multiple locations. That's Trump retaining multiple types of classified material. That's Trump retaining nuclear secrets and military intelligence and foreign intelligence. Each piece of classified material retained is a separate violation. Each document that Trump kept is a separate count. And Trump is charged with 31 Espionage Act violations. That means prosecutors found 31 separate pieces of classified material that Trump deliberately retained. And the court filings detail exactly which documents and exactly how Trump retained them. The obstruction details are also public now. The details showing Trump's team moving boxes after being notified by the FBI. The details showing Trump's team taking deliberate action to hide evidence. The details showing that Trump directed that obstruction. The details showing that Trump was actively trying to prevent prosecutors from finding classified documents. The details showing that Trump was trying to conceal evidence. All of that is now public. All of those details are now available for anyone to read. All of that detail is now going to be used at trial to prove Trump's guilt on obstruction charges. Evan Corcoran's detailed notes are also public now, and they're absolutely damaging. Corcoran documented Trump's instructions to hide documents. Corcoran documented Trump's lies about what he had. Corcoran documented Trump's attempts to conceal evidence. Corcoran documented everything, and Corcoran's notes are going to be used at trial. Corcoran's notes are going to show the jury exactly what Trump told Corcoran to do. Corcoran's notes are going to prove that Trump was deliberately obstructing. Corcoran's notes are going to prove Trump's guilt. And Corcoran's notes come from Trump's own lawyer. They come from someone who was actually there. They come from someone who heard what Trump said directly. And those notes are now public. The crime-fraud exception details in the court filings explain exactly why Trump's privilege claims failed. The filings explain that prosecutors proved Trump was using Corcoran for obstruction. The filings explain that Trump was directing Corcoran to hide evidence. The filings explain that Trump was lying to Corcoran. The filings explain that privilege doesn't protect communications made to commit crimes. The filings explain the legal reasoning. The filings explain why the courts rejected Trump's privilege claims. And all of that explanation is now public. Everyone can read the legal reasoning. Everyone can understand why the court sided with prosecutors. Everyone can understand that Trump's privilege claims were baseless. The significance of all this evidence being public cannot be overstated. Trump fought for months to keep this evidence secret. Trump filed motion after motion to suppress this evidence. Trump claimed privilege. Trump claimed executive authority. Trump did everything he could to keep this evidence hidden. But the courts forced disclosure, and now the evidence is public. Now the evidence is available to the media. Now the evidence is available to voters. Now the evidence is available to the jury. And the more people see this evidence, the more people understand that Trump is guilty. The public disclosure also means that Trump's defense is now transparent. Prosecutors have already disclosed their evidence. Prosecutors have already shown the photographs. Prosecutors have already shown the audio. Prosecutors have already shown the documents. So Trump can't claim that prosecutors are hiding evidence. Trump can't claim that the evidence is biased. Trump can't claim that the investigation is unfair. Trump's defense has to address the evidence that's already public. Trump's defense has to explain the photographs. Trump's defense has to explain the audio. Trump's defense has to explain the documents. And Trump probably can't explain any of it satisfactorily. Now, let's talk about what the public release of all this evidence means for Trump's trial and his political situation. The jury pool has now seen all the evidence. The jury pool has seen the photographs. The jury pool has heard the audio. The jury pool has read the transcripts. The jury pool has reviewed all the documents. The jury pool has been saturated with evidence of Trump's guilt. And that's going to make it very difficult for Trump to get a jury that hasn't already made up their minds. Most jurors have probably already concluded that Trump is guilty based on the public evidence. Most jurors have probably already decided that Trump should be convicted. And Trump's defense is going to have to overcome that presumption of guilt that already exists in the jury pool. Trump's lawyers are probably going to argue that the jury pool is tainted. Trump's lawyers are probably going to argue that the public disclosure of evidence makes it impossible for Trump to get a fair trial. Trump's lawyers are probably going to file motions for a change of venue. Trump's lawyers are probably going to request that the trial be moved to a different location where the jury pool hasn't been exposed to the evidence. But the judge is probably not going to grant those motions because the evidence has been made public and jurors everywhere have been exposed to it. So, Trump is probably going to be stuck with a jury pool that has already seen all the evidence and probably already concluded that Trump is guilty. The media coverage of the unsealed filings is going to be extensive and detailed and negative for Trump. The media is going to analyze every photograph. The media is going to transcribe every word of the audio. The media is going to examine every document. The media is going to interview legal experts about what the evidence means. The media is going to conduct exhaustive analysis of Trump's guilt. And all of that media coverage is going to convince voters and potential jurors that Trump is guilty. And all of that media coverage is going to damage Trump's reputation further. And all of that media coverage is going to drive Trump's approval ratings down further. The political implications of the evidence going public are enormous. Trump's approval rating is already at historic lows, but the public release of the evidence is probably going to drive it even lower. Voters are going to see the photographs. Voters are going to hear the audio. Voters are going to read the transcripts. And voters are going to conclude that Trump is guilty. Independent voters especially are going to be convinced by this evidence. Independent voters care about rule of law. Independent voters care about national security. Independent voters are going to understand that Trump endangered national security. Independent voters are going to vote against Trump and Republican candidates. Republican donors are also probably going to abandon Trump after seeing this evidence. Donors are going to understand that Trump is probably going to be convicted. Donors are going to understand that Trump is probably going to be in prison. Donors are going to understand that Trump is a liability. Donors are probably going to stop donating to Trump. Donors are probably going to stop donating to Republicans associated with Trump. Donors are probably going to redirect their money to Republicans distancing themselves from Trump. And that donor flight is going to hurt Republican fundraising. That donor flight is going to hurt Republican midterm prospects. Republican legislators are also probably going to accelerate their distancing from Trump. Republican legislators have already started to distance themselves, but the public evidence is probably going to convince more Republican legislators that they need to move further away from Trump. Republican legislators are probably going to start calling for investigations into Trump. Republican legislators are probably going to start suggesting that Trump should resign. Republican legislators are probably going to start talking about impeachment, and that Republican distance from Trump is going to accelerate Trump's political collapse. The impeachment odds are probably spiking right now. If the House flips in the upcoming elections, if Democrats get control of the House, then impeachment is virtually certain. Democrats are going to use all this public evidence as grounds for impeachment. Democrats are going to argue that Trump is unfit for office. Democrats are going to argue that Trump endangered national security. Democrats are going to use the photographs as evidence. Democrats are going to use the audio as evidence. Democrats are going to use all the court filings as evidence. And Democrats are probably going to impeach Trump. And with Trump's approval rating so low, with Trump's political position so weak, impeachment is probably going to succeed. The Senate probably has enough votes to convict and remove Trump. What this means for Trump's trial prospects is that conviction is now virtually certain. The evidence is public. The evidence is undeniable. The evidence is overwhelming. Trump is going to go to trial facing a jury that has already seen all the evidence. Trump is going to go to trial facing a jury that has probably already concluded that Trump is guilty. Trump is going to face a jury that has heard Trump's own confession on audio. Trump is going to face a jury that has seen photographs of mishandled classified material. Trump is going to face a jury that has read transcripts of Trump's instructions to hide documents. Trump is not going to be able to convince that jury that Trump is innocent. The prosecution is going to present the evidence systematically. They're going to show the photographs. They're going to play the audio. They're going to present the documents. They're going to call witnesses who will testify about what they saw. They're going to call Corcoran to testify about what Trump told him. They're going to present a comprehensive case that proves every element of the charges. And the jury is going to convict Trump. The jury is going to find Trump guilty on the Espionage Act counts. The jury is going to find Trump guilty on the obstruction counts. The jury is going to find Trump guilty on the conspiracy counts. Trump is going to be convicted on multiple charges. Trump's sentence is going to be significant. The judge is going to consider the seriousness of the charges. The judge is going to consider that Trump retained nuclear secrets. The judge is going to consider that Trump obstructed justice. The judge is going to consider that Trump endangered national security. The judge is going to impose a substantial prison sentence. Trump is probably looking at years of federal prison time. Trump is probably looking at a decade or more, depending on how many counts Trump is convicted on. Trump is probably going to spend a significant portion of his remaining life in federal prison. What comes next in the days and weeks after the evidence went public is more coverage, more analysis, more political fallout. The media is going to continue analyzing the evidence. The media is going to continue covering Trump's response. The media is going to continue reporting on Republican distancing. The media is going to continue discussing the implications. And all of that coverage is going to be negative for Trump. All of that coverage is going to drive Trump's approval ratings down. All of that coverage is going to accelerate impeachment talk. All of that coverage is going to drive Republican donors away. All of that coverage is going to accelerate the Republican fracturing. Trump's legal team is going to have to respond to the evidence. Trump's legal team is going to have to develop a defense strategy. Trump's legal team is probably going to tell Trump that he should consider a plea deal. Trump's legal team is probably going to explain that Trump's chances of winning at trial are virtually zero. Trump's legal team is probably going to recommend that Trump accept responsibility and try to get a reduced sentence. But Trump probably won't listen. Trump probably wants to go to trial and fight. Trump probably thinks he can somehow convince a jury that he's innocent despite all the evidence. And Trump is probably going to lose because his position is indefensible. So here's where we are. The evidence is public. All of it. The photographs, the audio, the transcripts, the documents, everything Trump fought to hide is now public. Trump's lies are exposed. Trump's obstruction is documented. Trump's crimes are proven. Trump is completely defeated. Trump's approval rating is at historic lows. Trump is facing impeachment. Trump is facing conviction. Trump is facing prison. Trump is facing the end of his presidency. And it all happened because the courts forced the evidence public. It all happened because Trump's legal defenses collapsed. It all happened because Trump couldn't hide his crimes. It all happened because the rule of law matters, and the courts enforced it. Trump is finished. Trump's presidency is essentially over. Trump's presidency is being consumed by legal crises and criminal trials. Trump's presidency is being defined by scandal and obstruction. Trump brought all of this on himself through his own conduct. He retained classified documents. He showed them to people without clearances. He lied about it. He tried to cover it up. He obstructed justice. And now he's completely exposed, completely defeated. His crimes are public. He's going to prison. His second term is a disaster. Pretty wild stuff when you think about how Trump's attempt to hide evidence actually exposed him completely and destroyed him politically and legally.